Hello, ladies and
Yo,
gentlemen.
yo, Mundo in the house. This is Saber Talk Sunday. We got James with
What's
Mountain
up?
Sabers, and Lord Barris is in the house. How you guys doing this week?
I am
Woo!
good. A little tired, but that is what to expect when you come back from a lightsaber tournament.
A lightsaber tournament. Oh my goodness, man. We'll be having Rich come on after a little bit too, man.
Oh,
So that'll
nice.
be yeah. So uh, I had such a great week. Um,
Really, what
just doing
happened?
different things. Well, just different things, man. I mean, I didn't have to work too late this week. And then of course, I didn't go to the ranch this weekend with my mom. My sister went, so it gave me a little bit of a break to hang out with the wife and stuff this weekend, and then both of my youngest are home, so that's a good thing too. And let's see here. Uh, both my kids are home, so even though they're going and doing things, they're still home with me and mom, right? Before they actually go back to school and will be empty nesters completely after this year.
Oh, well,
So by the
congratulations.
end of the year, by the end of the year, we'll be empty nesters.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
So let's see
Yeah.
here. Okay. So, and for anybody watching right now, Jim, let's see, Jim and Titan, you guys are here. Love you guys, man. Y'all are
Reese,
always here,
hello.
man.
Always nice to see you on the
And
screen. By the way,
oh
Reese, thank
yeah,
you for doing that video on the Graphics with all those new sound fonts. That's really great. Seriously.
oh yeah, man, dude, that was a great video, Reese. As a matter of fact, dude, I'm gonna watch it again because I watched most of it and I got interrupted on finishing it, so I got to finish it. But I tell you, it's really wanting me to just keep checking it out. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. Mo's in the house. Mo's in the house. Mo is
There he
only
is.
2 hours away. Mo's only 2 hours away from me, guys. He's in San Antonio, so he's like, eventually, I need to meet up with Mo. Right, Mo? We need to go have a beer together. So, again, guys, so if you see me keep turning my head, I do apologize because I'm looking at the laptop and I'm looking at my phone, and I want the phone to have such a great feed. Um, and my laptop is actually it's a it's a little delayed. So when I look at here, I'm looking at a delayed picture on the laptop, but my feed is perfect on my phone. So
Well, nobody wants
if
a
you see
picture.
me
Nobody wants a delayed picture of themselves looking like they're about to sneeze.
right, so when I'm turning my head, I'm actually looking at you guys straight in the face, but with the bigger picture because the smaller picture's on my phone and the bigger picture's on the laptop. So for the audience, so if you see me looking this way straight ahead, I'm looking at my phone. But if you see me turn my head like this, then I'm looking at the laptop, but I'm still looking at everybody square straight in the face.
No problem.
So I want everybody to know, hey, I'm not turning my head, man. I am paying attention to you guys straight on either way. Either way, I'm looking at you guys straight in the face, straight in the eyes. Um, so you said, Barris, you said you had that saber thing, that saber combat thing.
Yes.
How
Um,
many rounds was it?
well, there were a lot of rounds. The four main uh, the three main ones that were. Wait, no, hold on. Standards, women, exotics. Nice. Oh, there were four main categories for this tournament. There was masters, which are lightsaber fencers that are 50 years old or older. Standards, which is an everyone thing, everyone can participate. Women's, women's, and exotics, which basically it's everyone that participates, but you fight with a different type of with different types of sabers. So, for example, I used my Darth Maul hilts, and I used them for. I basically used them to dual wield. And let me tell you, I think dual wielding with Maul hilts, I don't have enough reach, so it gets a little bit more difficult.
Really?
Yeah, there are people with staffs that have like probably um, just very long hilts. That and not so long blades, like probably like less than 26-inch blades, because that way those blades are you can have more reach with your staff.
Now, okay, so that kind of coincides a little bit. How often do the blade let me rephrase this. How often do those hilts go out as when they're going at when people are going at each other?
Yeah.
Is the board integrity still intact, or do the boards fail within a certain amount of time because they're hitting the hell out of those things, right?
Well, I would say keep in mind. Sorry, give me a second. Well, keep in mind that most of the sabers that are being used are at these events are the Xenoth V3, which is usually, and they usually use RGB cores. But using a pixel saber in a match, I mean, you can, but when it breaks, it's just like ugh. But
Well,
basically, it all mostly they hold up pretty well, especially with the VHCs.
okay. So the sound of the board still stays intact. I know that they are more or less RGB,
Yeah,
but
they
but the
mostly stay intact, especially when getting hit, because um, the like the scrapper hilts that are used are basic materials from cheaply made, that sort of thing. Like you could buy
Mhm.
from any saber store that drop ships LGT materials, and they're really well protected. Like these things, these were designed to take a beating. To if they were to fall on the ground, like they would. I mean, superficially, the hilt would get chipped and whatnot and battered, but the core is supposed to stay intact.
Wow,
What's on your
amazing.
Star Wars lightsabers? Where's your lightning? Go! I got it! Me too!
Yeah, I'm pretty sure back in '77, nobody would have imagined something like this happening. Although someone probably,
No.
yeah. But
Not to this
Well,
extent, that's for sure.
yeah.
one thing I did do is I finally picked up my own scrapper hilt, which is this is it right here.
Cool. Oh,
Um,
nice, dude.
what I did
Very nice.
it was barely the maximum size is supposed to be 16 inches, and I'm barely over it. I'm like 16 inches and a quarter. And what I did was I followed the advice of my chapter leader here in Chattanooga, and I put grip tape on these parts right here, so that way
Hmm.
they are able to be hold more conducively with the thing. Um, and also I added this extra bit up here, which helps with blocking with the blade as well. Um,
Hmm.
but as you can see when I turn it on,
Power on.
oh fuck! Why did
Damn, that's loud. Damn, that's loud.
yeah, I'm gonna have to change that because I do not like.
The Chosen.
Okay, that's better. Yeah, see, and the windows here, these are nice. I like how it is, but basically, as you can see, as long as it stays lit, you can fight with it. But basically, this is a 40-inch blade that's in here, and I have a
Uh-huh.
2-inch spacer that's put in right here, which allows for that extra length to stay intact, and extra retention screws here and here, along with the ones that are up here, well, here and here, and the ones up here and up here.
Mhm. Wow. Charlie, have a good workout, my friend. I know you're listening and watching, bro.
Yeah, but I got an I got my scrapper from Rebel Sabers from Nikki, who was one of the main sellers of the store. She is amazing. I actually fought her yesterday in the redemption round for standards, and
Hmm.
it got pretty close. Let me see
Cool.
what if I let me look at the okay, redemption, single round elimination. It was 10-7, and I lost by 3 points. But she is an incredible duelist and an incredible person. Honored. I'm honored to have gotten to fight her.
I probably would have gotten not even 1 point, man. I probably got my ass kicked without getting a single point.
Dude, okay. One of the other people that I faced today in exotics, my dual malls, I faced up against a guy named Ryan McKenna. And he is rated among the top 12 lightsaber duelists in the world in this sport, in Saber Legion,
Really?
lightsaber, all that. And you know what the final score was?
What's that?
10-1. And one of the points where I got hit right in the throat. But one of the things about,
In the throat.
and you're probably wondering, wait, how could you have gotten hit in the throat and still be talking this well? Well, one of the good things about being in lightsaber combat sports and HEMA, which is, European dueling with fencing and whatnot, is you have a custom-made garrote, which is a type of fencing gear that protects your throat and clavicle. And
Okay.
it was intense.
Wow.
A very, very, very intense duel.
Okay.
But I learned a lot of things, including how dual wielding, it isn't always just because you have it doesn't mean it's all it's cracked up to be. But
Right.
I take away
Well,
learning.
let's do you okay when you're getting stuff when you're getting your boards made are when you get a saber, do you have that person who is actually uh installing it check the board before they install it, or they just install it without checking it? Now, I know, James, you check each and every board that you get before you install it, right?
Oh, now I do, absolutely.
I would say yes.
Before many
Mhm.
years ago, I didn't, but because it was all profits were coming out there, everything was good, but then all kinds of things happened with the chips and everything, and we were getting a little concerned if everything was going to be in the
Mhm.
same quality, but it is, it's pretty good. SD cards are a little skeptical right now on my end, and I can explain that in a few minutes. But as we talk about integrity,
Mhm.
but yeah, so I check everything that comes in, and I program and make sure it's functioning. I don't really install the whole kit and
Mhm.
caboodle all the way, because what happens if that board just decides to go? You know what I'm saying? So I like to test it out first. Pretty close to being installed.
Well, one thing I did make the
Mhm.
mistake of when I got my Anakin back was I accidentally uploaded the config that I had made for it, but I completely forgot that I had it installed with a Profi V3. So I cut it out
Right.
midway, thinking hopefully maybe I'll save it. But apparently it was halfway into making it think it's a Profi V2. So I had to send it back, and now it's getting reloaded with all the drivers and whatnot. Which
Mhm.
honestly, that's my bad. I will own up to that, but I am hoping that this, and I have the config that Lucky Sabers sent me, and now it's all programmed. And this time, this is the one where when I load it up, it'll be what it is.
Yeah.
Mhm. It yeah, and I think it's really important though for a lot of the newbie people, um, to really decide to check their boards. Even though you get
Well,
a
I
brand new
got one of
board.
these guys. guys, and I designed this as a test rig. You know, you can get this on my site and stuff. But the body, not the part. Well, the parts you could get if you wanted it installed by me. But I use this all the time. To test blades, to test programming, to test basic double LED stuff. In fact, I even got I've got Brian Connor's. So what that does,
dude, that was great.
It signifies everything, So no matter what I touch and do, it'll tell me what's happening, so even with swings and all that stuff. So it's a really good testing,
I like that.
It
does. I like that.
So it's like a hilt out of the hilt. You know what I'm saying? And it makes it a lot easier. This one happens to be a Profi board. I have CFX and all the other ones. And on the back, this was the first rendition, but I have a Bluetooth hole and a OLED space. So basically, it would cover all the bases. So so if you're doing screen graphics or something, and you just want to see it on the screen instead of having to take apart the hilt, you put it in this same programming, same everything, and you do it, and then it just comes right on.
Yeah.
But you could test blades, and I also have a PCB in there, a NeoPixel PCB. But they work great, things like that. There's a lot of different ones out there, but at least you have a variety to choose from for your needs,
Right. Definitely.
Oh, and that's got a 28 millimeter
and
speaker in there too, so.
Definitely, for sure. I'm playing around with all these things, man.
Oh,
I love it.
there we go. Yeah, I couldn't see you there.
I'm playing around with the different versions of the three of us in terms of looking at things, because like I said, I couldn't do this before with just the phone by itself. So now that I got my mother-in-law's laptop, man, and this thing's a beast, dude. It's
Cool,
got an
man.
i5 Acceleron in it, man. So it
go.
runs good. And the only bad thing is that it's still delayed in the picture because it's not
it will be
as fast. Yeah, it's not as fast as the phone. So that's why I'm going to use both. But with the certain things that Anthony,
that's why. It's not the computer. It's not the internet. You're going through a third party, so it takes a while for you to see it on the other side. So.
Yeah. So the
Pretty
things
cool.
that Anthony did sometimes, during the shows when we were doing them together, is what I'm trying to incorporate what he did. So it makes it a little bit more fun and a little bit more engaging as well, for the audience.
Yeah, sure.
So, hey, slowly but surely.
I wanted to go back to integrity for a second, and I think it's a pretty important topic, and that's SD cards.
Mhm.
I mean, they do some funny stuff. And today was one of those days. Like yesterday, you saw me that I had that ASP hilt, and I put the CFX in it today. Well, what happened was it went off, with the deep, the sleep mode, right? And I go to turn it back on, and it acted like completely funny. It wasn't doing exactly what it should have been doing in the first video that I showed. So it was like the lights were flickering, the CFX red light was like barely on, barely blinking, all that stuff. And I'm like, I can't figure out what the life and what's going on. The wiring is awesome. I mean, it's not, there was no issues with the wiring whatsoever. And I'm like contemplating if it was a battery or nothing. But turns out there was a last step. What should have been the first step was the SD card, to check the SD card. And sure enough, it had some sort of a power failure inside of it, like it was failing. So whenever it was running, it was bringing the circuit, it was bringing the power down, so it might have been shorted inside of the SD card. Yeah. So I'm like, oh my God, I got lucky because it's a pretty sensitive, boards are pretty sensitive when it comes to power, so you don't want to really do too much. But luckily, I figured it out. Pulled that SD card out, switched it, and so far it's been fine.
Man, see that I love that you mentioned that, James. I really do, because for the new people who are getting into this hobby,
I'm gonna post a video. Sorry, I'm gonna post a video. By the way, I'm gonna make a video of it because I saved all the film. I actually filmed it, so I'll put that up so everybody can see what the differences are. I never thought it was gonna happen. I was ready to do all my graphics stuff, my graphics on it and everything, and I was just like, what's going on? And I'm like, boom. And guess what?
See,
It was
and
a
some people
known
might think
brand.
it's the
You
board.
know,
Yeah, and some people might
that's
think that it's
correct.
actually the board itself. They
Yeah,
may not think that anything is wrong with the SD card. And
yeah.
you know, that's
Well, especially the
I'm so
CFX
glad.
absorbs all its information from the SD card. Like if you program the SD card and you put it in, and it reads right from it directly. So it's
Right.
its constant feed, you know, which is
Now,
great.
you say that you used to not check the boards. Usually, when you first
Yeah,
started, that you would just install the board
I would
itself
install
without
it,
checking
run it.
anything,
Yeah, yeah, install it, run it, program it.
and
I
you
mean, I
didn't
didn't
have
boot it
no
down or
issues.
anything like that, but no,
You said after you installed it, you didn't have that many problems with them, right? When you first
not at
started.
all. No, no, not at all. Not at all. I mean,
So the
it's a
transition.
basic form of learning how to install it, getting the basic information. The manual helps. You always want to go for the
Mhm.
basic information first. Learn about the SD cards, learn about the memory of the board, learn about all the ins and outs of it. And I have a feeling that everybody will understand it a lot more. You know what I'm saying?
Right, for sure.
At least to a certain point of view. I mean, I help a lot of people all the time. They always message me and ask me about certain topics and suggestions, and hey, I can't get this code to work right and stuff like that. So I definitely help everybody because I hate to see people stuck. It's the worst thing in the world. It's just like and then it was just one comma or the SD card or something didn't go right in the programming. Um,
Right, but I think that's the
but
first thing that people would think of. It's the board, and it's not the SD card. And
yeah, yeah.
the SD, I think the SD card is actually the number one neglected thing on the board itself to be
Mhm.
considered that there's a problem with, right?
Yeah, I've
Because
seen that
the SD
happen.
card runs a lot of stuff for the board, because without the SD card, the board is really not going to run, right? So it's a combination of both things. It is a piece of the board, but if one of those
Oh yeah,
pieces is not working correctly, if one of those pieces is not working correctly, then you know that there is that problem that you have to address, whether it be the SD card or the board itself. Now,
sure, sure.
aside from addressing the SD card, let's say you don't put in the SD card just yet. You haven't wired
Right.
the board. What would be the
Mhm.
first thing that you test on that board? Would it be the MOSFETs? Would it be the power pads? What is your first preference to test on the board itself?
I would probably the first thing I would do is you're going to have to. Well, what you mean by not attaching any peripherals? You mean just basically power and a button and sound, or are we talking just nothing attached to it? Because you really
No,
can't. I mean, you really have to have some sort of voltage going through it in order to test some of the MOSFETs, and you do have to have some programming in order to test the other pads because it needs current. So there's a lot of things that
right,
need power. So basically, I mean, I can check some, resistance and things like that, and continuity, but it's basically would be useless without it being powered on. But if that's the case,
right.
then
But
what I
wouldn't
would do is I would attach power to it and dump a button on it, and usually if I have my test LED, I'll hook that up as well, a NeoPixel, just to the first stage to see if it all lights up. And if it lights up and it sounds good, it's great. I don't do that for every
Mhm.
install. I do that for really the hard ones that I don't want that it's going to be hard to take apart. You know what I'm saying? Like the topical
Right.
chassis where you can get to the board and remove it. Those are usually the ones that
Hmm.
I'm more traverse to do. Because they're simple, they're easy, and I don't have to. They're not getting buried. In case something happens, which is known to happen. So,
Right.
um, but
What would be
yeah,
the most what would fail on a particular board? I would think, in my opinion, I think the MOSFETs would be the ones, something to go out first would be the MOSFETs for the board integrity.
well,
If you've got a bad board, or if you've got a
A
board that
short.
was used, a short. Yeah.
Well, those are different
Um,
accountabilities. A used board and brand new board are different accountabilities. You would hope that the new board,
right.
does not need any of the testing, and it was pretty much, thrown on
Hmm.
a test board real quick to just see if it operates. And what it does is it is already
Right.
pre-programmed. Most of the boards are pre-programmed with their stuff. So basically, it's just adding power, a speaker, a button, and a light, and seeing if it works. And that's basically
Right.
testing all those stages, almost
Hmm.
all the stages. The very,
Right.
the necessity ones.
I agree. Now, and then of course that now there's some of that reverse polarity parts that come out, but somebody who doesn't know about those pieces, I think was it Dimitri Stock, right, is the one that kind of brought in the that reverse polarity. So if you
With the
do
battery,
your
yes.
battery accidentally, it
Yeah.
won't
It's a
hurt
great
your board
circuit.
so much, you
Right.
know.
Just remember though, it's another board that you have to put in there. So you have to make sure the
Hmm.
chassis can handle that extra PC board. Um, but it's a great board. I mean, I don't have one myself. In fact, I would love to get it to test it out because it's it's something that probably everybody would want.
I think it's a
Accidentally, but
great piece. I mean, it's great
yeah,
because somebody who doesn't pay attention, or is just they're got a lot going on. They're not paying attention, and they're in a hurry to put their battery in, and oops, what happened?
mhm.
And boom,
Yeah.
or that Puff the Magic Dragon shows up, and
Yeah, that's
there
not
goes
good.
your
Some
board.
some some boards last better than others with that kind of a scenario. If you do it really quick, you get lucky, but sometimes there's just no coming back from it. It's too much for the board to take. So it's
Hmm.
you know
Yeah. I mean, like, for example, back in December when I was doing an event for Main Street Parade, it was a little cold out, and all of a sudden my saber stopped working on my Jedi Dooku. And then I go inside and I see smoke coming from my emitter, and I'm just like, oh my God, oh my God. I take it apart, and the battery
Oh no.
is just like, I'm just, and I've said this before, guys, to anyone watching this. When you buy from AliExpress, take it for a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt, and do your due diligence and send it either modified to make sure that it's good for yourself, or send it to a saber smith, because otherwise, ugh, it'll burn down the house. Or in my experience, since it was at an event, the massage parlor, yoga massage parlor. I kid you not.
Oh, that is great.
There was even when I took the picture, there was even a little mini statuette of like the Canaanite goddess of Astarte, and like someone on Facebook said, "Why is there a statue with breasts in the background?" I'm like, "How the fuck should I know?"
Man, let's hold that thought, man. Hold that thought.
New meaning to hot yoga. Oh God. Oh God.
Electrifying, isn't it?
Oh.
Oh, I tell you. So, but it really is important to make sure that the board integrity when you have your saber is is at its utmost importance, because like Bear said, you get that puff of smoke or whatever, essentially your saber could end up becoming a pipe bomb. I mean, not just because
it's
the
very
battery
lithium is
itself.
very flammable. Just look at things like those little scooters, those little foot scooters, your phones. You leave them in your
Hmm.
pocket, they get hot. They bulge. These type of batteries and stuff, they do bulge, and they don't last over time. They do have an expiration date, so you do have to be very careful with them. But again, they're a really great source of power, and they last a long time. If you get good ones and reputable ones. But yeah, you
Right.
have to be very, very careful with it. It's still machinery, it's still equipment, so you have to know.
That's
It's an
another thing.
overrated adult toy is basically what it's a lot of it's the truth. It's like one of those can.
It
That's why
is.
they don't want
It
them
is,
really
and
on
it's
the planes. They want them checked in.
as
That's
as, as
another thing
funny
because of
as
that.
some of the situations may as funny as some of the situations may be. Yeah, it's really important for people to understand that
I mean, not
yeah,
only
they're
being
adult toys, and
an object of integrity, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you pick one of those things, you pick a fight with one of those guys, you're going to get a head full of saber. So they're trying not to,
Mhm.
do that. But the lithium ions, I mean, everybody brings laptops on board planes too. So, like I said, it all
It's the
depends on the
same.
cost.
I'd say it's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost the same thing. It's a computer, it's a battery, it's got everything. It's a little less voltage than a laptop though, but it's still pretty good.
Right.
It's a good chunk of flame in your seat, so you gotta be careful. But as
Hmm.
far as integrity is concerned,
Absolutely.
I mean, as soon as you get the saber, you got to play with it, man. You got to run it around you got to go through its limitations. They'll tell you, listen, don't beat it against a tree a million times. It's going to blow up. Swing it lightly. You have to follow instruction, especially when it comes to the integrity of these lightsabers. Like, Barra said, the cheaper it is, it's a possibility that it will break. I mean, you got to watch and
Yeah.
focus. The stronger ones, the
But
dual
there's some
worthy
people that
ones, they're pretty good. Batteries are static,
yeah,
so
they
they
are.
stay in there. They're wired. They'll never come out. A lot of the duelers, that I see, they still have the springs in them, and it's very difficult. And I tell people all the time, don't put springs, put it static so that the battery does not have a chance to disengage. But here's the problem: that's more chance of, integrity loss because if you can't shut it down, then if you can't get to that kill switch
Hmm.
or that kill key quick enough, it's a
Yeah.
bad day.
Have you ever run across the processor messing up on the board?
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Uh, oh yeah.
Yeah, the
See,
CFX
I've not.
today because of the SD card, but it's not the processor's fault. It was the SD card. But a couple of profies,
Hmm.
yeah, a couple of them decided to go south and do some funky things. But it's either static is a bitch. You know what I mean? You got to keep these things out of the way of carpets and anything that causes static. If you're in a dry environment, be
Hmm.
careful. I'm in a dry environment, but I do have humidity from time to time. But you still have to be careful. As soon as you pick that up off the shelf, it's like and there it goes. You know, and
Yeah, I've
and
got
not only
very
that,
high
here's a
humidity
funny
here.
thing. Static. I had one Profi board sitting on my counter over here. I was sleeping. Guess what? It was dry that night, and I had the air on, and it static, and it turned itself on because I didn't have it on a kill switch.
What? Are you
I wish
serious?
I had a video. Oh yeah, it turned my
Wow.
Profi board. It turned itself on. Yep, turned itself on
What?
because of static. It
If
got
if
so staticky in here. Yeah,
wow.
it's dry.
I
It's like
I
there's not a lot of rain,
I
so
really
it's dry
wish
and everything. Yeah.
that's the way it is here in Texas. There's not a whole lot of rain, and
Yeah.
and I'm in an area where rain is like, uh, JT's in the house. What's up, dude?
Funny though is it's
He,
like I thought it was the battery, a low battery, but it wasn't. It was actually
mhm.
the preset I had set for it. It was scared the hell out of me. It was crazy. But yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
definitely. You got to be careful of those things. It's not.
That
It's not.
that's crazy. I've never heard of something like that. That
I wish I had it recorded.
that would have been a great
Would
video.
be.
It really would have been a great video.
Yeah, not when it all lit up right at 1 a.m. It's like that kind of sucked for me. I was like, oh my! I woke up to red light and my. It was a soul. It would happen when I made the Soul of the Sith font. You know what I mean? That's when it happens,
Mhm.
and that's a scary ass font. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, no joke, man. It's pretty funny.
Solacid. The Sith have returned. Oh
Oh,
my
it's so
gosh! But that, yeah,
you have a soul
but
of a
that's such
Sith,
an
not
amazing
a spirit of a
story,
spoon.
right? It went right into the board. I tell you, it went right into the board,
It goes right through the
dude.
metal, yeah, right. Especially if the board is close to the top surface, it's gonna transfer. It depends, aluminum is it's tricky. You know what I mean? It can go through or it can't go through.
Now
Um,
again, you have to
but I've seen it
really,
happen.
KB, what's up, dude? You really do have to be careful because, like I said, in the past shows, I fried two CFXs just from one single strand, a of wire sticking out of its jacket. And I tell
Mm,
you,
yeah.
you really, if you're going to have an integral, soundproof, solid, great, soundboard, make sure that you do everything in your power to make sure you wire right. You check your power needs, you check your batteries, you check everything that, it is not going to affect the board in a negative way. Um, that is your due diligence homework for board integrity at the utmost. Because one
Mm,
little step, I mean, and this happens to the best of installers. For when I fried the two CFXs, man, I had everybody tell me, Mundo, that's just a rite of passage, dude. I mean, it happens to even the best of us that
oh,
you're
sure.
not going,
Yeah.
that you're not. So when you're installing your board and you fry it, I mean, it's an expensive screw up, but live and learn from it because, the next time you wire a board up, it'll be better. You'll be that much better, right? And the integrity of your board will be that much better. However,
Yeah.
if you fail to do certain things, if you do fail to do certain things, then the integrity of your board is a shorter lifespan for sure, right? I
Oh,
mean,
sure.
you
Yeah.
can have it, you can have it. Rich says that's why he hates that.
Yeah.
That's why he hates.
Well, I've known CFX to have a little have some issues with quickly going south, and I've had a couple,
Hmm.
but it wasn't from anything, you know uh maybe it's a possible that it was a bridge or flux. It hates flux, that's for sure. So you got to make sure your board's clean when you solder when you do those things, especially anything that doesn't have any protection, because a flux can be conductive. You got those little particles in there. You always got to make sure you clean everything after you're done or while you're doing it. See, I do it while I'm doing it, each connection, because I don't want this thing to fail. So
Right.
but
Raiders in the
not
house.
much I could do about the SD tray because that's way in there. I mean, I could blow it out and clean it, but I usually reserve that for being okay because it's usually covered, it's not touched, and the SD card comes in it. So but
And
yeah,
I've
you got to
learned
be
my lesson
careful.
on flux too. I've learned my lesson
Yeah,
on
flux is
flux too, and like,
dangerous.
oh
I
my
mean,
god.
but without it, it gets really hard because the solder doesn't sink all the way. It does a lot of things that it depends on your your heat settings and everything too. So it makes a big difference on
So
how you're doing the job. You know what I mean? It's like if you have your way and you're comfortable with it, do it. That's more important. But just remember, the more heat and the more things that you put on these little contraptions, the less residual they will be. The less they will hang on. In other words, they don't like a lot of heat for a long
right,
period of time.
like anytime I do stuff, man, contact cleaner, and
Yeah, I
electrical
would stay away
contact
from that.
cleaner.
That's residue.
Is
That's
it
residue. Oh, I don't like that stuff. I wouldn't use that on anything. Not my
the
personal
contact cleaner?
opinion. I wouldn't. No, I use alcohol
Really?
on what I use. It takes it right off. Yeah, I don't like using any canned goods there, man, because it has residue and believe it or not, you'll have
Hmm.
some metallics in there from the factory. So be careful.
Really?
Yes,
That's
sir.
interesting.
Believe
See,
me
you
or
learn
not, but
something
I will
every
tell
day.
you.
You
Yeah.
learn something every day because the contact cleaner, I learned from Cal, right?
Hmm.
He uses that particular brand of contact cleaner and stuff. And I tell
Right.
you, that's but to each his own too. So,
But
you know,
I use alcohol because it's safer. It dries very quickly, and it does remove all of that flux. Anything that's not dried residue in there that you have to actually scratch off, because I've still have to do that a couple of
hmm
times from the factory because they either overdo it from the machines. The machines overdo it, put a little extra flux on there. It never comes off, by the way. It
right,
stays on there. So I always inspect it. So you want a good first tip: inspect the board visually. For integrity.
right.
I mean, if that's not a choice to select first, that's what I would do. Visually inspect it.
hmm And what percentage of alcohol are you using?
Oh, I use a small little dab, I use actually foam Q-tips. They're really great. I don't
No,
use
no, no.
anything with
But
strings.
it's
Percentage
isopropyl
90,
propyl
90,
alcohol.
90.
90. Okay.
The
All right.
highest I
That's
can
what I was
go.
trying to get at.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
90%
Sorry.
alcohol.
I
So for
forgot
those
that's
of
what,
you
yeah, that's
listening,
it. Yep.
so those of you who are listening, if you're going to use alcohol, use the 90% alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, to clean your boards, to clean your solder joints, anything that you solder, use those and the little let me see. I think I have one here. The little Q-tips, right? Is what you use?
I use small sponge ones. I actually spend a little extra. Well, I used to use those, but they got all stringy. They leave string
Really?
residues, and yeah, I don't really like those things sticking to it. So I use a sponge, a special sponge Q-tips that I found. You can actually find them on Amazon if anybody's interested. They're on there, so
Well,
they work
I
really
found
well.
these. I found these at Hobby Lobby, man. So I
Yeah,
don't
they're
know if
great.
these
I
will
mean,
be just.
as long as you pick the little hairs off afterwards, because some of those things they do stay. The hair stays on the
Mhm.
processor and stuff. Not that it's going to cause a big problem, and there's no metal. Well, I shouldn't really say that. Those little fine hairs can collect all of that extra residue and make a bridge. Not that it would really,
Really?
not like a regular wire, but it still would cause a bridge. So you got to be careful what you use.
Well, see, so this is some awesome advice, people, because there's things I'm still learning. I'm still
Yeah.
learning from experts like him, man. I mean, I tell you, and
Well, I try
even
to stay away
though,
from the chemical bases because they're not only do they leave a residue. Number two, they're not really. I mean, they're proven on some electronics, but not the small stuff. I don't like to use any of that stuff. I like to go true blue, natural, man, isopropyl, man.
Mhm.
It really takes it down to the proper levels.
Right,
Aha, see, Mo
contact
looked it up. See,
deliveries. Wow,
yeah.
unbelievable.
Hmm.
Well, see,
The
man.
WD-40 is one of those kinds that I wouldn't be spraying it on my board, but it's great for a lot of things. It's great. It's a great household item. I think I have like 17 cans here, man.
hmm
you know, um, I use it on my
Wow.
lathe too once in a
Yeah.
while when I don't have my regular machining oil. But it's kind of stinky when you do it because it's heating up the aluminum. But it works okay. But
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it is contact cleaner, and so you would think that it would,
It is
after spraying the contacts and after spraying where you soldered, that
different type of
it would
contact
do the
though. You know
job.
what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
different. It depends on the
it
ratio
is
of what
different.
that takes off. If what size contacts does it do it for everything, or does it just do it for big contacts like forklift
Like
contacts?
battery
Because there's a
contacts.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I hope that's not battery contact cleaner because you're gonna be melting the surface of the board. Yeah, that's a good point. If it smells like alcohol, but it depends. Probably smells like lubricant. It probably smells like WD-40 is what it smells like. It might. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But that's such great information because I actually, I heard about people using alcohol,
Mhm.
but they would never mention, the percentage of alcohol that they're using in terms of 90, 70, 50, 60, whatever percent, right?
Mm.
And I was thinking to myself, okay, you're using alcohol. Why wouldn't you use the spray, the contact clear? But this is what you're telling me now, kind of coincides with what they've been doing all along. That it takes more of that residue off than it does keep it
Mhm.
on. And that is such great advice because man, I tell you, now I'm going to go buy me a bunch of isopropyl alcohol 90% so that I can use to clean my joints and my
And
board
not
with.
only that, it doesn't smell horrible. It dries very quickly, and then you're gonna like the results because it really does what it's supposed to do. I've been using that for
Yeah,
years. This is not my first rodeo in electronics. I've been doing this stuff since I was 16. So
right.
my intervention into Profi boards and everything was about 5-6 years ago. But I've been doing small electronics with Arduino. I've been doing a lot of things with it. So my experience with using all these different things led me to the standard, which is alcohol. It's a nice
That's great.
it's a nice smelling agent. There's no residual anything.
That's gonna be great. Alcohol for the
Yeah.
electronics and alcohol for the maker.
There you go. Just don't mix the two. You're gonna have a bad night.
No, 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 no. Yeah,
Hey,
really, man.
hey,
Don't pick
I
up that
tell
bottle
you.
of alcohol.
guys, I hate to break up the session, but I gotta take it for the night because, like I said, I got back from Saber Strong and I'm just like,
Yeah, you look already gone, dude.
oh
You
wait,
look gone,
You
dude.
gotta heal up, man.
thank you, I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Hey, have a good night,
Glad you
dude,
went.
man. Thank you for coming on for a little bit.
Of course, next week I will be much more attentive and with it. Yeah,
Good,
thank you
man.
so
Well,
much.
hey, it's good that you went, man. When you experienced it, and
Yeah.
Oh, and
And
guys, keep
and it
an
was
eye on
great
my
that you mentioned it.
yeah, keep an eye
yeah,
on my Instagram. I will be posting content from the event.
cool, awesome, man.
Bye,
Cool,
everyone.
man.
All right, see you later, man.
Bye.
Later. That was cool. Definitely for sure, man.
Oh yeah,
Definitely for sure.
he's tired, man. He went through a whole bunch. I can't wait to see the pictures. That should be really cool.
That right? That'd be pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Doo, 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 doo. Everybody,
So
man,
integrity.
I tell you,
Let's talk about more integrity. What else could we talk about
yeah.
integrity for? What else do
Now,
you think?
I,
What's on your mind?
well, on my mind is blown, dude, with the alcohol, really, because I, for me, I'm still learning a lot, and before I get my portfolio going, um, I'm really trying to learn as much as I can to get better at this art, at this game, and learn from such great people like yourself, because you know even though some people have been doing this for many years and years, there's still a lot to learn with little different things aside from it. But tonight we're learning about board integrity and stuff that we can utilize, right? Utilize to keep the board integral, in great shape, running smoothly with hardly any problems. Now, I've also been looking at a lot of people. Okay, when I go through Facebook and I'm looking at Facebook stuff for the lightsaber stuff, and I'm seeing all these people with different problems, and the whether it be the board, whether it be the LEDs, whether it be any part of the lightsaber that fails, right? does that have to do? Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to do with the board itself. It could be that there's a problem with an LED within a blade. It could be a problem with the SD card. It could be a problem with a different amount of things, right? And for somebody
Mhm.
who is an installer or a beginner installer, let's go with the beginner installer at that, like
Oh
myself,
yeah.
right?
Sure.
I can't say that I'm not a beginner. I can't say that I'm an intermediate yet because I've only gotten two under my belt, and it's just the fact that once I get about seven or eight under my belt, then I can consider myself an intermediate at best. I will get to the point where I can be, a master installer eventually,
Sure,
but he's
man.
going very slowly, you know. And
Yes.
I think one of the most important aspects, really, too, and I think most master installers, master sabersmiths would agree with me is that if you take your time, you will have a great integral board at best, right? Because you would have tested your stuff, you would have tested your parts, make sure that they work properly before you even installed everything completely together. You make sure that your batteries are good. They're fully charged, they're good to go.
Hmm.
They've got the
Very important.
protected circuits. So you have all these components that work in unison together in order to create the integrity of the board itself. Now, it's like a well-oiled machine and a well oiled and gassed up vehicle, man. If you don't have any one of those parts in a vehicle, let's say you don't put oil in your vehicle for 3 months, what's going to happen?
Well, that's a bad
Things are going to
day.
lock up, right? I
That's
mean,
an expensive day.
it's an expensive day. So if you're going to take care of your car like that, why wouldn't you take care of your board like that, right?
Well,
You're
a
paying.
lot. Yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's just a matter of care and patience. Everybody has when they first get their saber, they're in awe. They're just so excited that they don't realize its potential. You see what I mean? It
Mhm.
has potential, but it also has sensitivities. It has drawbacks. It has safety precautions. So it's not just like picking this thing up and going, "Hey, man, um, I'm just gonna go,
Right.
yeah, that's not a good idea. These things don't really handle it that well unless you build it really, really super strong. I mean, that's just always possible, but there's a lot of fragile items in here,
Right.
especially with the LEDs. You know what I mean? Um, these LEDs,
Checks and nose.
all it takes is a little bit, and then they go bye bye. Um, and these pins, by the way, these pins are super fragile. I mean,
Now that
so you gotta be careful.
I'm glad. Yeah, I agree because I think if you put your blades in wrong, or if you're in a hurry, then you really decide
Well,
to like,
there's really no
jam
way
your
to put
blade
it in
in there.
wrong. The only way you can really put it in wrong is if the gap is too big and then you're shifting the pins and the pins are touching on the pad. But I don't, most of the time blades can go in or they're just a little short. So just
Yeah.
make sure that the blade is all the way in and make sure your battery's good and charged, and then you won't have a problem. So electronics don't always like to be undercharged, and that's why they have a protection circuit in the battery, so it protects your board. It drops off, it shuts off at like 1.5 volts normally, depending on what it's gauged at, depending on
Yeah.
the battery and the protection circuit. But normally it's 1.5, so it goes down to that, and then that's it, and then you've got to charge it. Most
Right.
people leave it in the
But there's
charger
some.
and they leave it overnight, and that's a mistake because there's no unless they have a smart charger. If you plug in your hilt, you got to watch that. You can't. There's no protection, and they don't let. It's not. It doesn't go to a trickle charge. It stays on a full charge most of the time, depending on the board. Or if you get a little circuit protection board, that regulates everything, and then it kills it, then that's great. But most of the boards don't
Mhm.
have that shut off. So
Right, they don't.
um,
And that's another part of the integrity of the board though, whether it has it or if it doesn't. And you
yeah,
really have to
and
pay attention to that.
Jim was saying that he said he had a little component come off the CFX. Yeah, that's not that's just a factory mess up too. But then you're still able to get the parts. It's a matter of just calling them up and asking them or emailing them. But here's the thing, you got to be able to solder it back on. You know what I mean? And hopefully that the integrity of the board didn't get damaged because that part was missing. So,
Mhm.
my opinion and my advice to everybody is that if something fell off, don't power that thing on because it's going to be a bad day. If you could replace that part first and then test it, I mean, what do you got to lose after that? But I mean, that's what I would do
That's what
personally.
happened.
I would wait. You know,
Well, that's what happened to me when I had one of the MOSFETs fall off on
Jet,
when I
Jet's
was
on board.
yeah, he's here, man. When I used I had a CFX board in the F-16, and
Mm-hmm.
what ended up happening was I got the chassis from Albert. Well, I guess I didn't sand it down just a little. I needed to sand it down just a little bit because when I put the chassis in, for whatever odd reason, the MOSFET stuck up a little too far. And when
Yeah,
I put it in and I closed it up, the MOSFET
scratched
came
him up.
off.
Oh, it came
And I'm
off.
all like, oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah,
So
that sucks, man.
I was actually able to unsolder it and resolder it back on, thank God. And, it started working again.
Those FETs aren't
And,
too bad to change. Try changing a
and,
Profi FET.
and I
That's what
closed
I
it.
want to see. I've done those, and they're hard.
And,
Sometimes there's no recovery from that
yeah,
because they have to be so precise. But I've done a few. It's pretty cool.
right?
Yeah, and he's right. That little yellow capacitor is a real pain
Oh,
in the butt.
yeah.
That thing, if it ever fails and gets hot, it gets super hot. You could cook Monday morning's breakfast on that thing.
Wow. I haven't had
Don't
that
get me
happen to me
wrong.
yet.
The Profi gets hot too when it shorts out. It has this little spot right
Wow.
in the middle of the board, and it just doesn't like it. So but
Well, that's what
I've had good
happened.
luck so far today. After that SD card stuff, man, CFX is great. I mean, I love it. I love it just as much as Profi. I love the graphics, man. It's really a lot of fun to just have that thing running right now because I was a little disappointed.
Mhm.
I was like, oh no way. It's been a while since I've installed. I have CFX hills, but it's been a while since I've installed one. Again for myself. So,
Right.
but it's pretty
I
fun.
have one sitting in there for I have one sitting in there for this one, but like I said, I've been
Yeah.
trying to get it taken care of, but every time I get close to doing something, I get pulled to something else.
Oh, I know it. I
So,
know it. I get
but
pulled
it's all
four
good.
different ways to Sunday every day, man. 5 days a week. So I'm always got something going on. So it's good for me though. I love that. Yeah,
Right?
he said CFX too pricey. Well, I
I
agree,
agree.
but it's just a personal preference. A lot of people like it. A lot of people like to do different things with it that you can't do with a Profi and vice versa. It's really a personal choice. But
Yeah.
I understand the price point. It's a big difference. And yeah, if you would
Hmm.
want to if you want to go for a first time, I'm going to say this respectfully, but go for a first time failure, I would go with a Profi because it's a lot cheaper. You know what I mean? And if you could grab some
Yeah.
2.2s for $30 to practice with, that's what I would do. That's my opinion. CFX and the 3.9s and the updated boards like GHV4, they're all starting to become a lot more professional and a lot more things and actually more open source now. They're offering a
Yeah.
lot, each one of them.
GH4
There
right
you go.
here.
Yeah. There you go, man.
I had to get
Yeah,
one because your fonts are on there
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
I was all like, but the Golden Harvest I thought is pretty damn good. I mean, for the for
It's a
the
great board.
for the price point, it's a great board.
It's a great board.
Yeah.
Yeah. and they're doing updates right now. I just went over the new. He put out the new firmware update and everything. I tested it out. It's great. It's actually improved from the last firmware.
Sweet.
So when you see improvements, then you know that they're concentrating on the integrity of the board. They want you to be happy. They want every smooth transaction.
Damn, you're beating me to the point, man. Good. That's good though,
Oh,
because
sorry.
that was gonna be my name. No, I'm glad you are. I'm glad you did, man. I'm glad you did. Because that was gonna be my next point right there, is because we haven't even mentioned that yet. And mentioning that the updates is very much an important part of the integrity of the board, So
Absolutely, man.
that
Yeah.
For somebody who doesn't understand,
I'll be right back. I want to get my CFX. Keep talking. Hang on. I'll be right there.
okay. So if you've got, well, it doesn't matter with any board that you have. If you're using the older version of it, and because it works great, and you're afraid that it's not going to work right after
My ears back.
uh, the new version, I mean, you got it. Oh, dude, look at that. Hold on, I got to make a bigger picture of it.
Yeah,
Dude!
this was a trade I did from Rob Carricker, man. He's a good client of mine. He's a cool dude, man, and he traded these for some work and stuff like that. So this is one that I kept because I really like the detail. It's all ASP parts that he put together. I did not, but yeah, and it's cool. I just got a blade attached because I was doing some. Isn't that nice? I mean, it's like almost basically brand new because they're just really
it looks fantastic, man.
So I made a static chassis this time. I put it in here, and I did it like that. Just a simple eco chassis, nothing extravagant. And
Right.
little kill switch. That's what I woke up to, man, when the thing came on. That was a crazy one. But yeah, the changes dramatically, with all this stuff. So it's great.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the updates. So, some people. Wow, look at that. See, some people are so afraid of the updates because there's been some times where I've seen a lot of people say that they get the update and then something goes wrong with their hills, right?
KB Productions asks, what is that yellow strip of tape? It's called Captain Tape with a K and a T. It's a special electric resistant tape that you can use for many different things. Also good for integrity, depending on if you have electronic pieces that interrupt each other. You can actually use that. It's pretty good stuff.
Right. Nothing wrong with that, Reese. Trust me. Nothing wrong with that, bro.
Oh yeah, this thing is great, man. I love this thing. C-Rex is it's a lot of fun.
It's so cool.
I dig the smoothness. I dig all that. I think it's really a lot of fun with that. I made my own UI.
I like that. I like
did my
that.
own sounds. I mean, that's my voice, but I produced the voice, so I can have my own.
Oh yeah, dude, that's so cool, man.
That's it. There's so much on it. Oh yeah, I got Godzilla. A lot of good stuff though, man.
It's good. I mean, for sure, man.
This is a lot of fun though. Just to do these little projects and and they work and they're great. And you know what? This is just a regular, not a dueler. It's not anything else. The battery comes out. It's got spring retention on the battery. There's nothing major in this thing. It's just very simple. Has a pixel PCB in here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, if everything is sectioned off correctly, the integrity of all the components will remain okay. It's
and that.
Just a matter of how the chassis designed and all that.
Right. Now, I mean, also, I think, do chassis links interfere with the integrity of the board sometimes, do you think? Like, if you're off, like maybe. Yeah, because like if you're off like a millimeter, let's say that the pins are just barely touching the PCB because the chassis is maybe just millimeters short, right? Could that create problems as far as like an arc going, or in
Well, the pins can bend. They do have thousands of a bend. I mean, if you look at those pogo pins, you can actually take the tip and
Mhm.
move them to side all the way around. They don't stay straight, but they weren't really meant to have that much force. So the
Right.
lighter the touch, it's good. I mean, my opinion, if you bury those pins all the way down to where they go to the inside, then I think you're going to have more failure because what happens is that pin may never come out again and you'll lose power to your
Hmm.
blade or you'll lose the ground or you'll lose data. So you have to be very careful not to crush those
Hmm.
pins within its own little shell. um, but yeah, if the chassis is incorrect or the alignment is off, there's always a chance of arcing. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, it's
Yeah,
you want to
because
walk
I
straight
mean
into the doorway. You don't want to walk
that has
left.
to.
You want to walk straight. So that's how I decide. That's how I decipher that. You always want to keep it. You know, everything aligned as much as you can. You know.
Right. Well, see, that's the thing is because the newbies that are coming in, I want them to understand that things have to be aligned, and even if you think that you're not putting it straight, some people may okay, they put their blade in, but then maybe they twist it. It's just a normal reaction that they have, or maybe they didn't even mean to twist it. They just put it in and twist, and then they turn their key.
Or
So
maybe
you do have to be
the blade is
careful.
a different size than the hole that it's going into, because that's a possibility
Hmm.
too. There's a lot of different makers of these blades, and some are tight in here, and some have a little bit of play. So you got to be very careful. Usually, like this only has one retention screw, so that's good enough for this hilt. It's not a dueler, like I said. You swing it around a little bit, and it's going to stay in.
Right.
But my thing is that if you're going to do any kind of dueling with this, make sure that you have a good, it's very tight. Your pins are not going to come out. In fact, you may even, if you want to do a pixel, maybe even use a different type of connector, something that is a little bit stronger, or a clip connector, or actually a rotary connector. Sometimes I
Hmm.
think the old Saber forges had that, where you screw the blade in and there it is. You know what I mean? It's things like that uh, give you more integrity as far as
Hmm.
coming into play with that. Like this, I
Yeah.
would never do it
Now
with
the.
this. I don't put another blade on. I mean, I could if I put my usually I have a blade battery adapter that I put behind the spring so it keeps it solid. But normally, what I'll do is I'll put my RGB adapter in here and go hollow blade, and I can use this as a dueler. But not
Right.
very heavy, but fairly light. Lighter than heavier than you would a NeoPixel, but lighter than you would, anything else.
Hmm.
Or should they say that the opposite way? Heavier with the RGB than lighter with the NeoPixel. That's it.
Right. Yeah, well, just for like I mean, if you got a young person who's just so enthusiastic and they're in a hurry to get their blade in there, and
Yeah.
it's like, hey, you don't be in such a rush to
Well,
put it in there.
you know what?
And
You
like you
know
were
what? How
saying,
you could really tell that you got a good connection. You just push the blade in. You can actually feel the resistance if use your hands, and if you do have good sensory ability in your hands.
Mhm,
Mine, I really don't, because my left hand has been in an accident. So, but my right hand's still good, so I can actually feel the pressure of the pins. So all you have to do is push the
mhm,
blade in until you hit the pins. Hold it if you can, or if you're with somebody, maybe they can help you hold it, and then just tighten up the set screws if you have 2 or 4. That
mhm.
position is perfect. But if you're gotta make sure it's in there, guess what happens? All those pins are stressed, and it's a possibility
Yeah.
that they could bend or break or desolder from the back, which I've
Yeah,
seen.
like for me,
I mean,
I'll just use
pop
my.
out from the back.
Right, for me, I'll just take, my two fingers right here, my thumb and my forefinger, and I'll just bring it down, and that's how I
Right.
tighten it up, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that if I can't go any further, That's just
Sure.
perfect. It's not putting
Well, Jim
any
said sand your
under
blades,
on.
and I agree. If you're gonna see, you could sand your blades too if you don't really care about the emitter section, when it comes out or whatever. Absolutely. I haven't done anything to
Yeah,
this blade. This is a I think a quad. This is not a quad. This is a KR. I think in here it's got a bigger. It's got the strip in here. But I haven't tried my I haven't tried my quad blade in this thing yet because I mean I did wire it for it to handle a big blade, but the battery's still small compared to what I really wanted to put in this thing. But again,
right.
integrity. I can always change a chassis for a bigger a bigger battery, but then it didn't really have the room for it. Unfortunately, the way the hilt's designed. So. But it's
Let me
cool. It works
see.
great. So far, this thing has been satisfactory, man. I have the capping tape on here due to the issues that I was having with the SD card, and I didn't want to mount the board, but I am going to mount this board in permanently because I don't need access to it. I can get from the USB and get in there, and the battery's back there. So, but and it's cool. I love the
Now,
way the buttons are with the sequencer. That's pretty cool. That's stock, by the way. I didn't touch those yet, but I just love the adaptation. You could do some things with certain boards. It's really a lot of fun to
right
explore.
now, have you run across the issue of the USB charging area? As far as has that ever failed the board itself? Have you run across that
What's
issue
that?
before? Have you ever run across the issue with it with the USB charger or the USB connection part of it on the board itself?
Yes.
Have you run across that problem?
Yes. And there's nothing you could do. You can't get into the board whatsoever. You can't program it. You can't do anything. It's a dead stick. Depending on the software, the board will be recognized, but it cannot be programmed. So in certain cases, and in other cases, it won't be seen
Ah,
at all. Yeah.
you see,
There's
people.
different
I'm telling
sections.
you.
There's a power section in that, and there's also a data section back and forth. So if something happens to that connector or the power section of that connector gets fried, there's no recovery because you're hitting the circuitry by that point. The plug itself, if the plug gets damaged, you may be able to replace it, depending on how damaged it is and if it did rip the pads off the board, so many variables with those things. But yeah, I've
So
experienced it.
So at that point, the only two things that you can do, one of two things, is use the SD card for everything to update your board or whatever you're going to do for your board itself,
For certain
or
boards, you can. Not for Profi
right.
board. You have to plug Profi board in. Well, they have the Wi-Fi. I mean, they have the Bluetooth option, but it's very slow. So you want to be able to get to it at a faster rate. Yeah,
Hmm.
you could put your soundboards on Profi, but you still have to program it via cable or via, the Bluetooth scenario or the web, the web app.
Right. And then if none of that works, then your only other option is just to buy a brand new board, basically.
Pretty much, it's a shame, but yeah, I mean, unless you can find the part that's deceased, and then you can try and replace it and see if it happens. If it didn't hit the processor yet, then absolutely.
Well,
There's a lot of
considering
circuitry
that
in
you
there.
can do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
considering that you do have the skills to do that, because there's a lot of
yeah.
people out there
Considering,
who have boards, who don't have the skills to do that kind of stuff, and they would have to learn how to do those things if they want to go the cheaper route. Now, the other route, the other option is just for them to send it out to a sabersmith who does know what they're doing
right?
to do
Yeah.
all that stuff, and then that's a
Well,
bit
it's
of
just
extra money
we're
that's going to cost.
repetition. You know what I'm saying? The more we do it, the more we learn. That goes for everybody.
Hmm.
I mean, you just have to be absorbed into what you do. You have to pay attention, make sure that it's the way it should be. Like I said, manuals are really important. If you don't have your manual,
Hmm.
then or if they haven't updated the manual, maybe ask around, see if it depends on your soundboard. But majority of the time, they have a
Hmm.
manual, so you can go by that. You can at least get the basics. The manual is
Right.
very detailed. The CFX manual is very long. I mean, it's super detailed. You get lost in it. So but it has
Hmm.
sections, which is great. Like just about every other manual is sections. Take the section that you need, learn about it, and then come back and try it. It's it's amazing what, how simple it will be when you just have one piece of material instead of 75,000 opinions, this, that, the other thing. What should I do? Oh, I don't know. I'm not skilled. I don't know what happened. But now you got to go hunting for stuff like that. Now, if you're a newbie, let's just say you're a newbie and you're trying all this stuff on your own, my advice is to get the manual first. Read about it. Maybe do some research to know what you're getting into, because that's also going to take part in the integrity of what you do.
Go ahead. Well, what I was going to say is, for those of you who have a hard time reading, let's say you're dyslexic like me, take small sections, read it a little bit at a time. Okay. If you're getting stressed out, if you're having a hard time, and I'll tell you this, if you're dyslexic like me and you have a hard time reading stuff, get a hold of me. I have taught myself how to get out when I start reading things backwards, even though they look like they're straight up, even though they're straight up in front of me, the way I'm supposed to read it, and I see things backwards, I have taught myself how to get out of that. And if you have a hard time with that, get a hold of me, email me, and I can help you. It is going to take some time. It's not going to be an overnight situation, because it is going to take a little time, but it's going to take a little work on your part to do it. Okay. And each episode that you have will get shorter and shorter. I promise you, it will. And even if you hate reading and you get to the point, sometimes I'm going to tell you this, because I've struggled with this throughout my whole life. And the thing is that I can read one paragraph 100 times before I realize it's the same paragraph over and over again. Or I'm reading that one paragraph and it looks like it's in Russian to me until I turn it upside down, right? So again, if you're like me, Jim, so if you're like me and you have a hard time reading stuff, let me know. I can give you what I did for myself to help me through when I went to a little bit of college and I found out I was dyslexic. If you're having a hard time, let me know. I can give you what I did for myself. I can give you what I did and see if that helps you. And hopefully that'll help you be able to read a little bit more better and a little bit more enjoyable, and have less episodes where you're reading things backwards. You get stressed because you don't understand what you're reading. And or take your time, read it very slowly to the point where you read it paragraph for paragraph so you can understand it. Okay. I have a hard time, learning stuff because of this, but it doesn't stop me from learning, and it won't stop me from becoming a master installer eventually. So, and like I
Yeah,
said,
Chet, but I'm not going to do that, Chet. I like my 3 boards in my case, man. I'll never touch those,
so
even if it's the last one on Earth. I'm not going to touch those.
that's too funny, man. But like I said, I can help you in that department, whether you choose to or not. It's all up to you, man. But again, I have learned to do it this way, and it will not stop me from being a master installer eventually. But the manual is really a great product to understanding the board itself. Now, if you're a
It's the
visual
beginning.
learner like myself,
It's the beginning of the
it's the
end, is what it's
beginning.
called.
Absolutely. hmm
Because you'll be
Absolutely. I'm a visual
fresh
learner.
from
I
page
like
1.
watching.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's good too. Yeah, like
hmm
YouTube videos and stuff. Absolutely, man. Look, not everybody is into reading. I
I'm
get it. And sometimes it's
yeah.
it's not an understood language, to everybody. So understood. I help a lot of people with this programming stuff and the CFX stuff, and trying to understand it. And they keep coming back with questions and answers because they're learning it, and that's fine. That's what you got to do. That's what the community's for as well. All the forums, everything.
Yeah.
It boosts the
And
integrity
there's
for
no
sure.
Absolutely. That is the biggest thing is to make sure that your board has great integrity. Okay. And reason for tonight's show. I mean, you want to do everything you can to keep that board integrity intact, so
Right.
that you have enjoyment, the saber that is of your dreams, or in your favorite collection for years to come, right?
Yep.
And so, again, going to the manual is the first thing. If you can't do that, go and watch videos. Okay. Second thing. Third thing is, try to understand certain things, or, you know, go to the communities and everything, and look at stuff before you actually ask a sabersmith anything, because they get questions, and they get hundreds of thousands of questions a day, and they don't mind helping you at all. They don't.
I do.
But the
I get
most
not hundreds
important
of
thing,
thousands, but I get quite a few a day, because they
I said
email me
100.
checking it out. Yeah. I wish
Right.
100,000 because then, it'd be really great. But I do help a
Well,
lot of people, and you are right. Yeah.
you do want to do your homework before you actually ask somebody, because the sense of worth that you have of figuring out for yourself before you actually ask an installer
Mhm.
is really awesome, because there's some things that I have found out that I did and that I've done, and I there's things that I've asked an installer, and I'm all like, oh shit, that's right. Why didn't I think of that? And then there's some things where I would ask an installer, but I would tell them, hey, what do you think about me doing this? Because I try to find the answer for myself, and they say, yeah, do that. You see,
Yeah.
and
Oh, Jim
so
said. Jim said I thought I was saying I don't. No, I don't mind anybody asking me questions. I don't
no,
mind at
no,
all.
they
I
don't.
mean,
That's what I'm
I get
saying.
I get yeah, I get tons of emails. I get tons of texts and messenger. I mean, and I enjoy spreading the information, and at least the information that I know and I'm familiar with, and I know that will help you get to where you're going. I would never give you a
Yeah,
piece of information that I wouldn't give myself. So,
yeah,
all that
exactly.
stuff, or I'll lead you to the place where you can get the best results and the best, answers. I don't. I
Right.
like things to work. As I think I said this in our very beginning of one of these Saber talks, is I like things to work, and I like things to work for people. So if it's not working, let me know, and I can try and give you a hand. If I can't help you, then somebody in the community definitely will. So
Yeah,
that boosts
absolutely.
integrity
And
right
and I
there.
go there with
You
you.
know.
Absolutely. And community awareness, community togetherness, all love sabers and stuff. There's too much bad crap in the world, man. So this
Oh, sure,
community,
yeah.
we don't want no drama.
We just
Leave
don't
the
want it to
drama
happen
alone.
here, man. This community has been really great. It's been a source of reliability and emotions and everything, and it's real. So we got to keep it that way. We got to keep all that other stuff out of it. The
Yeah.
hatred and all that other stuff. It's terrible out there lately, and I don't even watch it anymore. I just stick with my sabers. That's why I installed this last night, because it's like, oh, stuff on television is just, I'm losing it, so so this brings me out of it, and
Right.
it's fun, brings me out of it.
It's fun, and we're gonna keep it fun, and we're gonna keep it fun. That's
Yeah.
why Saber Talk is here. As long as I'm around, and as long as I can
Perfect.
do Saber Talk, we're going to do just fine.
Haha. All right,
Hold on,
wait, we
hold on,
gotta try
hold on.
this, Mundo. Hold on, we gotta try this. Wait, hold on. All right,
I'm
ready? Gotta go in the camera, man.
okay. Okay, hold on, hold
Wish I
on.
came out the other way.
No, hold on. I want to find your. I want to find one of your fonts. I'm gonna find one of your fonts.
All right, I'll wait for you.
This is General Kenobi. Celtic Jedi.
All right, we got pause for a battle break. Spoon battle break.
Right.
And I need a nuclear reaction to generate the 1.21 gigawatts.
There we go.
Oh no!
That's the one.
Uh-oh. Oh,
Ready? 1, 2,
hold on.
3.
Oh. Oh,
You got it?
I got it.
And by the way, this is a pentastar. This is a
Oh yeah,
pentastar
let's go.
given to me, gifted by Darth Reese, man.
Nice, nice, man. That's the one that was coming.
Yeah, this is the one that was
That's
coming.
cool. Oh my God, is this my quad blade? No, this is not. I don't think this is my quad blade. I don't know. Maybe this is
No.
my quad blade. It certainly looks pretty bright. I don't know if it is. No, it's not. This is not. That's why it's not blinding me. These are great, man. I love these things, man. Woohoo!
Oh yeah, for sure. Woohoo! Man, it's washing my face out a bit. This thing is freaking awesome, dude.
It's pretty bright, man. That's why it's washing it out. This one's not as bright, as my other one. I like it though. It
No,
looks good
I
on
mean,
camera. Even the tip
so
looks
let's
good on camera.
right. This has got it all the way through too.
These are important to me, man. You want to talk about integrity? I like these shiny. I want tips shiny all the time.
Now, here, okay. Hold on. Let's do this real quick. I'm gonna turn this off, and I'm going. This is the one. Okay, this is the Pentastar gifted to me by Reese. Right now, here is a dual star, a two strip blade
Oh,
that
okay.
I did. This is a two strip blade that I did that I made because this 28-inch blade, I had a big problem. A couple of the LEDs were going really bad. So I remade this blade, right?
Oh, nice.
And so it's not as bright,
This is
but
not my
it's
quad.
just it's got a full it lights the tip all the way up. And I think I did a
This
pretty
one,
decent job on it.
this one's not. This one's not my quad. This is just a regular KR strip.
Now, if you can see, there actually is no corn cobbing whatsoever in this thing.
I think I'm going to be due for a Civilized Sabres blade pretty soon, man, because I'm just loving what's
Right?
coming out of there, man. It's pretty, it's very, very cool.
Perns in the house! Perns in the house!
Woohoo! Yeah, I don't even know where my other blade is. I think it's somewhere.
And if you guys haven't got any sound fonts from James at Mountain, dude, y'all are missing out. He's got some great fonts, dude.
It's a lot of fun, man.
This was the gigawatt font, man. The and ode to and the ode to Back to the Future. And he's got a Spider-Man font. Well, he's got the Green Goblin font. So if you're a Marvel fan,
It's, that's what did I call that thing again? I keep forgetting. Called it. It's been so
gosh, it was
since I've
Goblin,
heard it. I gotta get that thing. I gotta get that font back out of there. I
right?
got Mecha Godzilla, man. That thing is crazy. This is the Mecha Godzilla.
Let's hear the Mecha Godzilla.
I don't know where the sound's
Whoa.
coming from. Right from my headset.
And that's when he's starting to power up, right?
Yeah, I have that too. It's powering up. Eyes. I have the two eyes that he goes ah ha ha. He laughs. So that's all Graphics. That's all CFX. It's pretty badass. I love that thing. Let me see if I could get to that. This is the other one. I always have a hard time getting to it. I should put it first. Well, it is first, but it's just the way the programming is. There it is. So it does sections all the way up.
Yeah, I like that little where it kind of waits a little bit and then it's flashing and then the little delay
Pieces
makes
are
it
fun.
like, oh shit.
I love the. I just like it. It's a great combination. You know, guys, I love that. It's just a lot of fun to make them, man.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. For sure. You know what I ran across? Uh, I had some. When I was look for a long time ago, I think it's probably been about 5 or 6 years ago. I was looking for some quotes, and I came across a real badass one. I probably should send it to you, but it is from the Highlander movie, right? In the very beginning of the movie, where
I have one of
uh,
those. I had the prize.
what's yeah, it's called The Price. But
That's
in the
mine.
beginning of the movie, where Sean Connery reads, and he read it from the bathroom, right? In the beginning, and
Mm-hmm.
he says that, oh, well, no, I'm sorry, it is at the end of the movie. After Connor McLeod kills the Kurgan, he says, you know, um, you have unimaginable power. Use it well. Don't lose your head, right, or something like that.
Right.
Um,
Yes. You can't
so
touch
that
it, Bob.
particular, yeah, right. So that particular quote I have. And I think if I can, I'm gonna try to. And if I can't do it, I need to incorporate your help to get that quote in there into that
Oh yeah. Oh, you wanted the
in
prize font? Yeah,
into that
you can
font.
put it in there. Yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So I think it would be perfect for a boot sound, right? It'd be
Yeah.
perfect for a boot. So
I think it's great.
and
Yeah,
then
there's a lot of good ones in there. A lot
oh,
of good, a
absolutely.
lot of good statements in the movie. The movie was great. That's why I made the font. And it's a lot. I enjoy it. I think it's got some good sounds. I can't wait to get my other one done. I got to start doing it like this week or next week. I have another sword font that I really want to get done and tweak a little bit more. And I think it's going to be cool because I have my other katana that I want to put it for. I actually have a forgot which one that was, but I have one over there that's needs that badly. So, and it's going to have a white blade style and all that stuff. So,
Ooh,
yeah.
nice.
And I want to bring back Rain too because Rain was one of my first ones that I did a long time ago, and I took it down because I needed to update it and to make it sound better. So I'm going to work on that one too. And it's also like a flow style. So you
Mhm.
don't really, it's not like battle, it's flow. So you can actually, feel more balance and things like that. So that's what that one's going to be for. It's got really cool sounds. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll do a Highlander thing real quick. We had to
I
show that one off
see
there.
you, Captain. That's great stuff,
Now
man.
the other ones weren't as great as the first one, but
Yeah, the first
and
one
the
was great.
last one was really super rushed, right? The source. Even
Hmm.
even Adrian Paul himself, the actor, said it was rushed. He said he didn't like it at all. That
Yeah.
Jim. Oh my god, it's too hilarious.
This is fun stuff, man. Yeah,
That
so
would be a
that was a
great one,
good.
Scott. That would be a great one, Scott.
Oh yeah.
I gotta get that one. I gotta get that one, man. I mean, I gotta get that one because that one would be great too. Both of those would be a great boot.
That'd be
Hello,
a lot of
pendejo.
fun. I'm also gonna work on
Yeah,
that.
and
I'm also
this
gonna
is
work on
coming
that
from a
hummingbird
Spanish
thing
guy,
too.
you know. Oh yeah, I tell you,
Yeah.
and
You wait till you
oh,
hear
and the
that one
battle
though. When
strike.
you hear that one, you're gonna be like, "What?" you're not even gonna know that it's like. I mean, you'll know because I told you the bird I'm using, but you're not even gonna recognize it because it's gonna be.
Oh,
Come
it'll
on,
be epic.
it's gonna be crazy.
It'll be epic. It'll be epic. Oh man.
Yeah,
That
it's
but
gonna
that's
be.
where
I'm
some
gonna
great
try and really go.
hey,
Yeah.
you got to understand that's where some of the great things have come from nature has ever been because for somebody like me who's in martial arts like Anthony like you know I mean all of us martial artists I'm telling you Charlie Charlie would appreciate it just as much as I would do because if you look at martial arts the Shaolin fighters the Shaolin monks mimicked animals for their fighting styles. And I tell you,
Mm,
so and there is a lot to learn from animals in the wild, dude. And you could
absolutely.
get some great sound fonts from these animals as well
Hmm.
if you had the good and great means to find those things, right?
Yeah,
And I tell you,
not too
I
hard to
mean,
find.
this
Those things. I mean,
yeah.
whether
Well,
they're
but
royalty free or not is the question. But it's like
right,
I can make a sound that sounds like a hummingbird. I mean, I don't have to take the actual files or videos or where I can make it.
right,
So because I have the technology to do it, and the know-how to make those sounds. But I
right.
want to get as real as possible. So if there are some royalty free sounds, I might collaborate.
Right. Well, like Godzilla was what they had like 7 or 8 different animals for his
Oh
roar.
yeah, yeah, sure. They had several, quite a lot of different Godzillas, from different time zones. But I do have
Yeah.
those, which I'm gonna update. I'm gonna update my Godzilla font with those particular roars and sound effects. But I'm trying to get to it, and it's coming up pretty soon. I have everything all laid out already. I just have to, do my audio thing, and it'll be out there as an
Right.
update for Godzilla. I think it's kind of cool too, when you get to hear different sounds and stuff. And some will be
Right.
classic, and some will be all the way to to the newest.
Cool, man. So I think we'll call it a night tonight, man.
All
And
right,
for
man.
anybody out there, all of you guys, Jim, I mean everybody out there, Chat, Reese, thank you guys so much for hanging out with
Thanks,
us, man.
guys.
It's just been it's just
Gotta love
amazing
Saber
to me
Talk.
that you guys come, right? Gotta love it. It really amazes me every Sunday that you come, that I do this, that you come and hang out. You take time out of your busy lives, your busy schedules, and come and hang out with me. And always looks forward to it. Scott always comes on, hangs out with us too. I mean, I tell you, Pern, all of you guys, it means so much to us, and to me, to James, it means so much to Anthony, and all the members of Civilized Sabers. Gabe, and if Harris was still around, he would truly appreciate it too, man. So, my due diligence is to make sure that I do Harris right. I won't do as many rants as he did. But I try to make it as fun and as engaging as possible for you guys to hang there with me at any time I do Saber Talk. So make sure that you like and subscribe for the newbies out there that watch this. Make sure you like and subscribe to Civilized Sabers. Anytime you see this on Civilized Sabers, you can also see it on Instagram on my Mundo channel at Mundo Cabrera 7007. Um, if you can give a little love, a little like over there, it's the same videos. There is some videos that were here that are not here anymore that are over there. They got flagged. It doesn't matter. But it's all good. And so, like I said, anytime you watch something here, it gets over there. So if you can't see something here, go to the Mundo channel, go check it out. Also,
Yeah,
make sure,
man.
like I said, like and subscribe for Civilized Sabers, Mountain Sabers. James is an amazing installer. He's an amazing, sound dude, sound fonts. He's an all around guy. I mean, he is jack of
Thanks,
all
man.
trades, Saber stuff, man.
And you
And
can check me out
do
at
realize,
MCS Mountain Sabers 101 on YouTube and Facebook, and I'm on Instagram too. and my website, which is mountainsabersfonts.com. So check that out too.
He's got some great fonts. Hit him up.
A lot of
If
fun.
you guys ain't got any, I'm telling you, get some. Especially if you're Marvel fans, get the Goblin one, dude. I'm telling you, it's badass. And other stuff that he's got as well. He also offers some merch as well. Uh, Civilized Sabers is offering some sabers as well that you can check them out. Check out the blades, brightest on the planet. You know, studies have been done that Anthony's blades can't be beat as far as brightness, man. They come close. They come very close. But I tell you, he just can't be beat. He goes and he does. He bats for everybody who wants the best in the blades. And
Yeah.
again, I tell you, me guys, I am happy doing the talk show for Civilized Sabers. I am happy talking to anybody who wants to come hang out and talk Sabers on Sunday nights, man. Most of the time, it's 8 o'clock. I will vary times. I don't think I will go past a start time of 8:30. If I go later than that, that means I'm falling behind on stuff that I'm out of town or something. And when I get back, I will start late. However, most of the time it's going to be 8 p.m. Central. And if you're out there towards the Jersey area and all that, it'll be 9 p.m. Central. Oh, well, 9 p.m. Pacific time, I think it is. And so it's an hour ahead, right? And if you're across the world, man, come check us out, dude. Don't be
Yeah.
shy. Come and hang out with us. We'd love to have you
Absolutely.
guys. And if there's anybody out there who has a topic that they want to talk about, I am more than happy. Email me at e_Cabrera, CABRERAIII at yahoo.com. Or get a hold of me through Facebook and Instagram. And if you have a subject that you want to cover for anything Sabers, man, and you want to come on the show, hit me up. I'll send you a link to the show, and we can talk about it. We can talk about it. Let's have some fun, guys. With that,
That's what
I'm
we
gonna
do.
brand out. Mundo out. Love y'all. Peace.